I didn't think I'd be living in my aunt's guest room at 30 years old. But when life decides to tear you down, it doesn't nod politely first. It crashes through the door, uninvited, wrecking everything you thought was stable. I lost my job in a round of layoffs I never saw coming. A month later, my partner of 7 years, someone I thought I'd grow old with, told me they were done babysitting a failure and left. That same night, I packed 2 suitcases, slept in my car, and the next morning, I called my aunt. She told me I could stay a few weeks. That was 14 months ago. They live in a 3-bedroom house, my aunt, uncle, their 2 kids, and now, me. The guest room used to be an office, shoved between the kitchen and the laundry area. There's no lock, no privacy, just a lumpy mattress, paper-thin walls, and a window that doesn't open all the way. In the beginning, I told myself it was temporary. Every week, I sent out resumes. Dozens of them. No calls. The money I had went toward gas, groceries, and phone bills. Then, it was just groceries. Then, nothing. I tried to make myself useful. I cooked, cleaned, repaired the leaky sink, rewired the porch light, babysat when they needed it, listened when they vented. But no matter what I did, I was still the guest, the uncomfortable presence, a favor that had overstayed. At first, it was subtle, quiet conversations behind closed doors, half-whispered sighs when I entered the room. Then it was louder, sharper. He's still here. Must be nice to just lounge around. Maybe if he tried harder. I heard it all, pretended I didn't. It was easier that way. The worst part wasn't what they said. It was how invisible I became. I'd pass someone the salt, and they'd act like I wasn't even there. Except for my 13-year-old cousin, Lily. She used to be sweet. She'd bring me drawings, ask me to help with homework, sit beside me on the couch like I was part of the family. Now, she mimics her mom, rolls her eyes when I talk, makes cutting comments with a casual cruelty only teenagers can perfect. I tell myself she's a kid, that she's absorbing the energy around her. But some days, the words still land like darts. Like that Tuesday night. I'd made dinner pasta with a garlic cream sauce. I even baked bread, because I had the time, and maybe I still believed effort counted for something. They ate. No thank yous. Just scraping forks and murmurs about work. Afterward, I washed the dishes while they scattered to the living room, voices rising with laughter from a show I wasn't invited to watch. It was fine. I preferred the quiet of the kitchen anyway. I was putting away leftovers when I heard footsteps behind me. Lily. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Then she said it. Mom says if you disappeared tomorrow, we'd all sleep better. I froze. I turned and saw my aunt standing behind her. She didn't deny it. Didn't scold her. She might have even smiled, just a little. I waited for someone to say it was a joke, a misunderstanding. But no one did. So I just said, noted, and went back to sealing the container. But inside, something cracked. Not in a fiery way. No rage. No explosion. Just stillness. The kind of cold that settles when a room has been empty for too long. That night, after they'd all gone to bed, I sat on the edge of the mattress in my little cave of a room and stared at the wall for hours. Then I stood up, opened the closet, pulled out my old duffel bag, and packed everything I owned. It didn't take long. I didn't have much. A few shirts, a cracked laptop, some books, a half-dead phone charger. Before I left, I walked into the kitchen, grabbed a pen, and wrote a note. Not long, not emotional. Just, you said you'd sleep better if I was gone. I hope you rest well. I folded it neatly and taped it to the fridge. Then I slipped out the door, careful not to make a sound. It was just past midnight. The air was sharp. The street was empty. I walked to the main road and caught a night bus heading nowhere in particular, just away. 3 towns over, I found a 24-hour diner. I ordered black coffee and sat in a booth by the window. Didn't speak. Didn't move much. Just watched the streetlights blur through the steam rising off my cup. Somewhere between 2 and 5 a.m., I realized something strange. I could breathe. Really breathe. Not the shallow, tiptoe kind of breath you take when you're always in someone else's way. This was different. This was mine. By sunrise, I didn't have a plan. No job. No place to sleep that night. But I had silence. And for the first time in over a year, it didn't hurt. By mid-morning, I was still at the diner, sitting in the same booth with a third refill of black coffee and the same crust of toast I'd picked at all night. The waitress, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a tired smile, didn't rush me. She must have seen people like me before. Lost, quiet, waiting for some kind of signal from the universe. I kept thinking she'd ask me to leave, but she just refilled my mug and said, "You're good here, Han," like she meant it. Around 10, my phone lit up. A text from my aunt. "Where are you?" This is childish. No greeting. No question about whether I was safe. Just annoyance wrapped in parental authority, like I was some teenager sneaking out past curfew. I turned the screen over and left it face down on the table. An hour later. "At least let us know you're alive." I didn't reply. Not out of spite, but because I didn't owe them anything anymore. I wasn't part of their household. I was a shadow that walked their halls, kept their lights working, made their dinners, and absorbed their silence like a sponge. Not anymore. Eventually, I blocked her number. That act alone felt like a release. Like stepping out from under something heavy I hadn't realized I'd been carrying. By the end of the day, I'd burned through the last of the cash I had, enough for a few meals and a bed at a grimy hostel with cigarette burns in the sheets and walls thin enough to hear every flush and every fight. But I slept. Not well. Not long. But without flinching at footsteps outside my door. The next few days blurred. I applied for jobs anywhere that would take walk-ins. Cafes. Bookstores. Grocery chains. I walked 10 miles across the city, checking bulletin boards, peeking into help-wanted signs. Nobody called, but I kept walking. I sold my last good jacket to a consignment shop for $17 and used it to buy a second-hand button-down and a pair of decent shoes. On the 5th day, I hit a used bookstore on a corner with dusty windows and a bell that jingled when you opened the door. I asked the owner, an older man with nicotine-stained fingers and a long gray ponytail, if he needed any help. Stocking. Cleaning. Anything. He looked me up and down like he was trying to measure whether I was a thief or just hungry. "I pay minimum," he said. "Cash. Under the table. I'll take it." So I shelved books. Swept the floors. Sorted the mess in the back room. I didn't ask for more. I didn't talk much. Just worked. At night, I slept in a shared room with 3 other men who snored and coughed and reeked of sweat and weariness. It was better than that guest room. On the 6th night, while sitting on the edge of the cot with my phone in airplane mode, I flipped it on to check the time. One message had made it through before I blocked everything. It was from Lily. "I didn't mean it like that. Please come back. It's weird without you." I stared at it for a long time, and I wanted to feel something. Sadness. Guilt. Relief. But all I felt was tired. Because I knew she was repeating what she'd heard. I knew kids mimic their environment, but I wasn't responsible for fixing what they broke. So I didn't reply. I didn't block her either. I just let the message sit there. A week later, the bookstore owner, his name was Greg, offered me a proper shift schedule. It was still minimum wage, but it came with regular hours and a staff key. "Don't make me regret it," he grunted. "I won't," I said. With the little money I had saved, I moved into a shared apartment above a laundromat. My room is small. Just a twin bed, a desk, and a flickering lamp that buzzes if you leave it on too long. But it's mine. No one barges in. No one comments on what I do or don't contribute. I come home, cook my own dinner, eat it in silence, and then go to bed with the window cracked open. I started therapy 2 weeks ago, sliding scale, virtual sessions. The first time, the counselor asked, "What brought you here?" I almost said, "My cousin wished me out of existence." But what I said was, "I need to learn how to exist without apologizing for it." She nodded like that made sense. And maybe it does. Sometimes I walk past families in the park, parents chasing after kids, laughing, yelling. And I wonder what it's like to be part of something where you're seen, where your presence isn't a weight to be tolerated. But most of the time, I just enjoy the quiet. One afternoon, maybe 3 weeks after I left, I got a voicemail. It was from my uncle. He barely ever spoke to me while I was living there. Always busy, always tired. But his voice was steady. "I just wanted to say, I noticed what you did. Every day. I should have said it sooner. Hope you're doing okay." It was less than 10 seconds, but I replayed it 3 times, then deleted it. Not out of anger, but because I didn't want to start hoping again. The kind of hope that turns silence into anticipation and absence into grief. I'm not ready for that. But I'm working. I'm breathing. I'm paying rent, barely. And when I go to sleep now, there's no one sighing through the walls, no footsteps pacing just outside my door. Just me, in a room that's mine. It's not perfect. But the silence? It finally feels like peace. 3 months passed. The bookstore became more than just a paycheck. It became a rhythm. My hands grew used to the dusty spines, the creak of the floorboards, the smell of paper and mildew and old glue. There was something healing about it. Quiet, slow, predictable. Greg, the owner, wasn't warm, exactly, but he nodded when I clocked in. Sometimes he even left a thermos of coffee on the counter for me. He didn't ask questions, didn't poke at the holes in my story. He just let me work. That kind of space is rare. I held on to it. Therapy was helping too, in its own way. I still couldn't talk about everything, not yet. But the act of being listened to without judgment, that was new and powerful. I started writing in a notebook. Not a journal, exactly. Just thoughts, pieces of things. Memories that wouldn't sit still. One night, I wrote, "It's easier to disappear than to defend your own existence." I underlined it. Twice. Some nights were still hard. I'd wake up gasping from dreams I couldn't remember. I'd feel like I was back in that house, suffocating in the same room with no door, no lock, no space to be human. But then I'd open my eyes and see my cracked ceiling and the fan that buzzed like a dying insect, and I'd remember I wasn't there anymore. One morning in late fall, I ran into someone from before. I was carrying a box of new arrivals back to the shop when I heard a voice behind me say my name. I turned, and there she was. Karen, my ex. She looked polished. Crisp blazer, sleek ponytail, not a hair out of place. "Wow," she said. "Didn't expect to see you here." "Yeah," I said, too tired to lie. "I work here." She looked at the box in my arms like it was radioactive. Then back at me. "I heard what happened," she said. "With your job. And everything." "Everything?" I repeated, flat. She shifted her weight. "I hope you're doing okay." "Really?" I nodded, but I could feel the old shame rising in my chest. The urge to explain, to defend, to justify. I fought it. "I am," I said simply. She smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. "Well, take care of yourself." And then she walked off. I watched her go, then carried the box inside and shelved the books without another thought. The difference hit me later. 3 months ago, that conversation would have crushed me. Now, it was just noise. A week after that, I got another message. A new number. The preview line said, "Hey, I don't know if this is still your number, but..." I knew who it was before I even opened it. It was Lily. The full message read, "Hey, I don't know if this is still your number, but..." I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I was mean. I didn't understand. I wish I had been nicer. "I miss you." I sat with it for a long time. I thought about the girl who used to ask me to read to her at night, who used to fall asleep against my arm during movie nights. I thought about how that girl disappeared somewhere along the way, and how maybe, just maybe, she didn't mean for it to happen. I didn't reply, not because I didn't care, but because I needed her to feel the silence, not out of punishment, but so she could understand what absence really meant. There's a weight to being gone, and sometimes it's the only thing people truly hear. That same week, I got my first paycheck that actually allowed me to buy something I didn't need to survive. So I did. A plant. Just a little potted thing. Green and reaching and alive. I placed it by the window in my room and watered it every morning. I don't know why it mattered, but it did. It felt like proof that something could grow in this place. Even me. One night, while walking home, I passed by a family on the sidewalk. 2 parents, maybe mid-30s, with 3 kids and a dog that kept tangling itself around their legs. Everyone was laughing. Real laughter. No sarcasm. No bitterness. I watched them pass and waited for the ache in my chest. But it didn't come. Instead, I just kept walking. That's when I realized healing doesn't announce itself. It just happens. In the quiet moments. In the small choices. In the fact that I no longer flinch at kind eyes or unexpected voices. I started sleeping with the window open, even when it got cold. The sound of wind doesn't scare me anymore. Neither does being alone. There's a freedom in not being anyone's burden. There's peace in being your own person. There's power in saying, I don't belong to anyone who treats me like I'm disposable. And if that means starting over with nothing but a cot and a cactus, so be it. I'll take it. Winter came slowly. The kind of slow that sneaks in, not with a blizzard, but with a shift in the wind, a sharpness in the air, a subtle bite to the mornings. The windows in my apartment fogged up more often. The laundromat below ran constantly. Steam hissed from the building's pipes like the whole place was exhaling. I picked up more hours at the bookstore. Greg didn't say much, just slid the schedule across the counter and grunted, "You good with this?" I nodded. I was. I liked the quiet, the repetition, the comfort of alphabetical order, and the way books never judged you for where you'd been. Some evenings, after closing, I'd linger near the philosophy shelf. I didn't understand most of it, but I liked the questions, the doubt, the fact that some of the smartest people in the world still admitted they had no idea why we're all here. That felt honest. On a Tuesday in late December, I came home to find an envelope slid under my door. No return address. No name. Just my first initial, scribbled in ballpoint. Inside was a folded piece of notebook paper and a crumpled, uneven $20 bill. The note read, "I know it's not much, but I wanted to say thank you. You helped more than you know. I'm sorry it took me this long to say it. L." I stared at the paper for a long time, then set it down gently on the desk, and cried. Not loud, not broken, just quiet tears that rolled down without warning and soaked into my shirt. They weren't just for her. They were for everything I'd held in during those months in that house. For every whispered insult, every cold shoulder, every meal eaten while pretending I couldn't hear what they thought of me. For the version of myself that believed I deserved it. I didn't text her back, but I folded the note and placed it inside the back cover of one of my notebooks, the one where I wrote the line about disappearing. It felt right there, like a tiny full circle. Around New Year's, my therapist asked me what my biggest realization of the year had been. I thought about it for a while. Then I said that it's not my job to make people comfortable at my own expense. She nodded, slow and proud. That's a big one, she said. And it was. Because for so long, I thought love meant being useful. I thought belonging meant being tolerated. I thought family meant you had to endure anything they gave you. Now I know better. Now I know boundaries are not betrayal. That sometimes, leaving is the most honest way to say, I matter too. I still think about my uncle's voicemail sometimes. I never responded, but I kept it. I downloaded it and saved it to my old flash drive, tucked in a drawer. It was the first time anyone in that house acknowledged me without resentment. It didn't fix everything, but it reminded me I wasn't entirely unseen. That matters more than people think. The plant by my window is still alive. I named it Friday because I bought it on one. It's grown 2 new leaves. Some mornings, I sit by the window with a cup of coffee and just watch the street below. People rushing, laughing, yelling into their phones, living. And I feel it in my chest, that slow, patient beat that says, I'm still here. I'm still building something. Even if it's small. Even if it's mine alone. There's a guy who moved into the apartment across the hall. His name's Marcus. He's a bartender. Sometimes we talk through the door while taking out trash or doing laundry. He offered me a drink once after work. I said yes. I didn't apologize for who I was. I didn't shrink to make room. And he didn't flinch when I told him I'm still figuring things out. I think most of us are, he said. Anyone who says different is lying. I believed him. That night, I fell asleep with my window open, the wind curling in around me like a blanket instead of a threat. No voices outside my door. No weight on my chest. Just sleep. Real sleep. And as I drifted off, I remembered what Lily said, that they'd sleep better if I disappeared. Maybe they do. But the truth? I'm the one finally sleeping through the night.